Hey, what's up? Welcome to another episode of the Miami Comedy Podcast. I'm Manny Garavito. I'm your host, and in this episode, we're going to be talking about the new era of tipping culture. So I think the most important thing when you are in tipping culture is service is definitely a factor. It's got to be impeccable. The more effort somebody puts into the service, the more likely you are to get tipped. Now, of course, there are some people out there that are jerks, but there's also people in hospitality that are jerks as well. So now if there's two jerks talking to each other and there's money involved, who's the biggest jerk? The one that doesn't leave a tip or the one that was acting like a jerk and expecting a tip? And so one thing that I've learned working in hospitality as well as tipping people is that you gotta have a feeling that the tip is undeniable. Something as simple as asking questions can go a long way. Can I get anything else for you? How is what you ordered? Are you enjoying it? How's your day going? Even adding a little bit of therapy can make an undeniable tip happen. I saw this thing online that says that if you're both standing during the transaction, then a tip shouldn't be expected. I beg to differ. You know why? Because I know that if you're standing as a service provider, you've been standing for a very long time. And somebody online had the audacity to say that if they walk in, you're standing, that they're not going to tip you. Then what would they have preferred? You being in the back as a hospitality worker and being like, all right, just give me a minute, I'll be right there. But it goes the other way around. If something you do as a service provider doesn't feel right to receive a tip, then it most likely isn't. For example, a situation where the transaction ends with you saying, next, does not feel like a tippable situation. Oh boy, this person got rid of me as soon as possible. I better leave him a good tip. So this is what I like to call tippable situations. Now, you can get tipped for these scenarios, but you gotta be smart about it. You see, if you order food online and it asks for a tip for something that you're literally typing in your credit card number to get, you're already going to lose a tipping opportunity. If instead you put in the credit card, but they don't charge your card until you go pick up the food, and then when you arrive, the person that is giving you the bag is making sure your napkins are in there, your utensils are in there, your sauces are in there. Can I get you anything else? And then they hand you the bill that you put online, and then you sign it off with the tipping line on there. Maybe that's a more likely scenario for you to get tipped. So if you're in hospitality, tell your business owners to get a little more creative so that you can get your tips in. But on the other side, there's also situations where you place an order over the phone and you arrive to pick it up. Hey, can I also get some spicy mayo? And then you say, oh, that's extra. You're really going to sacrifice your tip because you would rather charge them $1 for spicy mayo? That's $1 you don't even get. The owner of the restaurant gets that $1. But if you throw it in and then you give them the receipt for them to sign with the tippable line, there's your opportunity right there. That's the worst though, right? When someone is defending the sauces, you're only limited to one sauce. A sauce is $1.50. Why would you ruin your chances of providing an easy service where you can get tipped for? Sure, how many sauces do you want? I see you're here with 3 people. Here's 3 sauces on me. By the way, here's your receipt. Don't forget to sign. You see that line above there. Now let's go back to the consumer side. If you're going to a Starbucks and you're ordering something off the menu where there's a procedure to do and they know exactly how to do it, maybe that's not a tippable situation. But if you're placing a complex order where you're making the barista scramble, or God forbid, he has to write down notes on how you want your triple mocha frappuccino with half oat, half almond, just enough whipped cream where it peeks off the top of the lid, you got a tip for that. The thing is that if tipping feels right, then it is right. I'll give you a great example of a situation that I didn't know that I had to provide a tip, and I did. One time I went to go rent a car, and usually when you rent a car, they give you the paperwork, you go into the lot, you hand it to somebody, they say, yeah, go over there. But this guy received my paperwork, walked me over to the cars, meaning he gave me options, and started selling the cars to me as if I was some sort of Price is Right showcase. Over here, we got a brand new SUV, or you can get the Jeep. And then at the end, when he handed me the keys, he might as well have just said, ta-da, because this guy was giving me a show. I had no choice but to reach into my pocket and give this guy a tip, just because of the effort and the fun. You see, the audacity of wanting a tip means that the attitude has to match. You got to make the person feel good about giving you more money. See, if you're in the service industry and you have the right attitude, you're most likely going to get more tips than not. Because you've seen it, and I've seen it, where clearly the person that is providing a service to us hates their job, as if we gave them that position. So if you work in the service industry and you're in a bad mood, you got to turn that tipping part off in your transaction. Just tell the person, look, I know I was a jerk today. I'm having a bad day. The tip's on me. And another thing that I can tell you in terms of tipping in any situation is if you add some theatrics to it, you're more likely to get a tip. Even if you're serving something as simple as a cookie, make it feel special. Wear a white glove when you serve them that cookie and put a napkin on top and do some voila thing over it. Even if it means you got to do a little magic trick. You pull out some golden tongs from your sleeve and then you reach for the cookie and you put it on the napkin. Whatever it takes, a little extra effort with the right attitude can get you more tips in the long run. You know, as I talk about tipping in Miami, I think about all the other industries that do provide a service but don't ask for tips. Like a mechanic doesn't ask for a tip. You know why? Because they probably make their money scamming people into thinking their car is far worse than what they are when they bring it in. They'll be like, all right, let me break it down for you. Your car's transmission is shot. We're going to have to replace it completely. The AC is running out of coolant. Your battery's low. And we got to replace all that. Oh my God, that sounds complicated. How long do I have to leave my car here? Well, you know, if we don't reach any snags, it'll probably be 3 nights, maybe 5. But don't forget, there's a $99 fee for every night we got to leave it in the garage. Waiters at a restaurant should do the same thing. All right, let me walk you through this. If you want a medium rare steak, first we have to select the perfect piece for you. Then we're going to have to season it with a secret blend of herbs and spices. Now that, of course, takes the right amount of pinching and precision to sprinkle over on top. And then after that, we got to sear it on both sides to perfection in order for you to get that crispy surface. You know what I'm talking about? Now, we then have to pop it in the oven to make sure it also stays in the same temperature for a certain amount of time so that you can get that tenderness going. Wow, that sounds like quite a process. How long will that take? Well, if we don't reach any snags, 15 minutes, maybe 20. So maybe one of the solutions for the tipping culture and everyone's complaints or criticisms about it can be solved if there was just a little bit of a common ground involved. I remember one time my dad went to an Olive Garden and convinced a waiter to give him one of those cheese graters. He gave him a really good tip, and we still have that cheese grater to this day. Imagine that. Somebody made a quick $50 on a 2-person meal, and now there's a cheese grater missing somewhere in the kitchen. It's not that big of a deal. All right, that is it for the Miami Comedy Podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in. Don't forget to like, subscribe, follow us on socials, and leave a comment below. What are your criticisms about the modern day tipping culture? I'll see you on the next episode.